When you've been watching online content as long as I have, which is to say about 15 years, I stopped watching television when I was in high school and I moved basically all of my viewing to YouTube. You see so many content creators rise and fall, you see trends come and go, and eventually you find your niche. And I have found mine and I wanted to talk about it. What's skyrocketed up to the top of my must view on my list, which is Jomboy Media and specifically their Warehouse Games series. And I wanted to talk about it and answer the question, which is what makes the Warehouse Games so much fun to watch? First thing is that the sports they play are easy to understand and very entertaining. Blitzball, floorball, and ball and play are all offshoots of widely popular games, and they're easy to understand. We've all seen a baseball game or played floor hockey or in gym class, or if you're outside of the United States, you've definitely seen a cricket match. So seeing a variation doesn't take a ton of brain power to understand, you know. You know what kind of the gist of baseball is, you know what the gist of hockey is, and you might, if you're, like I said, if you're from outside the United States, you understand the gist of the ball and play, you understand cricket, you know. These sports are basic enough that the barrier to entry is fairly low, so anyone can play it, but they are also hard to master. You know, you can learn how to hit a blitz ball, but that it takes a long time to be able to throw as many pitches as the best players in the world, and that can be said about floorball and ball and play as well. So with that being said, it creates a lot of depth. You know, there are players that can be specialized in one area, and they can be more all-arounders. They can be players who massively improve over a couple years, or there's strategies that are being developed, you know. And the thing I'll say about the entertaining aspect of it is all of these sports are quick with not a ton of downtime, and each moment is just as important as the next or the previous moment. So floorball games, they're 3 5-minute quarters. That's 15 minutes, you know. A goal in the first 30 seconds is just as important as a goal in the last 30 seconds. Same thing with blitzball. They're 2-inning games. So with ball and play, they're 2-inning games, you know. So anything, each moment can be the game deciding moment, which keeps the action high intensity, and everybody has to bring their A game from the moment the first pitch is thrown. Number 2, the players. Obviously, with a content league like these, the players are what are going to drive the entertainment. And one thing that I really appreciate about the Warehouse Games is the wide range of players that they include. And I believe this is how you do inclusivity correctly. I think we've all seen a company or a content creator or anything try to be inclusive, and when they do that, you can tell when it's forced and you can tell when it isn't. And I think it's very obvious that the Warehouse Games is not being forced. They do make a concerted effort to include more people, but they aren't so open that they get rid of all of their qualifiers, you know. Like, you still need to have the ability to mesh with what they already have. So in each league, I feel like there's somebody, a player, a commentator, a person in the crowd that each viewer can relate to. There's almost every body type is represented. Obviously, so many different personalities, many different skill sets, and then different types of people. You know, floorball, each team had a female member. Ball and play, there were a lot more players of color from different parts of the world, whether it be different areas of the United States, because there are a lot of the Jomboy Media people are from the East Coast. There were a lot more people from the West Coast and from the South, and then In Ball and Play, there are more foreign players as well. So I feel like there's a lot of people represented in these games, and for all the viewers, I think it's very easy to see yourself in at least one of these players on the team, which is very important for inclusivity. And a lot of the time, these new players that they build, or that they bring in, have the same amount of skill or have more skill than the established players. Almost all of the female players in Floorball 3 were the best players on their team. And you could say the same thing about the players on Ball and Play. The professional, obviously they're professional cricket players, but they were very good and played a very important role in a lot of the teams. And they blended right in, which I think is extremely hard to understate. They have created an environment in the warehouse that everyone feels welcome, and they get the vibe of it. I think they probably just need to watch or be a part of one game. They're like, okay, I get what this is about, and they quickly blend in with the rest of the crew, and then the content itself gets elevated. And I think the ability to have people come into the fold and work perfectly is very impressive, because how many times have you seen somebody new come into a content group or anything like that, and it just doesn't fit, because most of these groups, they start, with a group of friends having fun, and then when they try to bring other people in that didn't start in that friend group, it can feel hard, it can feel off. But I don't know if there's ever been a time where I've felt that way with the Jomboy Media crew. They're very good at having people blend in, and I think that speaks to the environment they create and also the people that they choose to include in these. So number 3 is going to be the production value. I think a big problem with a lot of content leagues is that they're trying to copy a professional broadcast about 1-to-1, but they don't have the same resources that an ESPN or a Bally Sports or anything like that has. They're probably going to be a group of maybe 10 to 20 people, and they just don't have the skills, and they don't have the resources. They can't get high budget graphics, they can't get high speed cameras, they can't get professional audio. So the Jomboy Media team is trying to do a professional broadcast, but they are not trying to do it 1-to-1, which I think is a very important choice. You have to have the authenticity to kind of sell it as a real sport, which it is. But like I said, you do not have the resources of a big production, so you can't try to emulate it without it being kind of obvious that you're a knockoff. So they let these professionals do their jobs in the most unfiltered and creative way that they want. The main commentators for the Blitzball battles are Peter Moylan and Chris Rose. Peter Moylan is a color commentator for the Atlanta Braves, and Chris Rose has done everything under the sun. I mean, it's crazy to me how much stuff he's done, and then to see him do this that's a huge, adds such a air of authenticity to it that I can't understate. And they've both talked about that they love doing it because they get to do what they love, which is talk about sports, and they get to be themselves while doing it. They get to curse, they get to make jokes, they get to put their own personal opinion. They don't have to stay unbiased. And so that really helps, because you're hearing the voice of a professional, but he's cursing and he's making jokes and he's putting his own input into it. He's not just being a robot, and it doesn't, and they again mix perfectly into the Jomboy Media world. They fit perfectly, and they more amplify instead of dampen the Jomboy Media special sauce that got them to the point that they could do something like this. You know, they were making content beforehand, and then they were able to get a warehouse and do these things. So they fit perfectly in while adding in a big boost of authenticity. And as for the graphics and stuff like that, you know, they do have a score bug and they have sideline interviews, but that the sideline interviews and the lower thirds, during those interviews, they're all played for jokes and for fun. You know, they're obviously not going to be as serious. They have the stats at the bottom of the screen, but the interview questions happen right after something happens. You know, it's not after the game usually. And they're all for jokes, they're for content, and that's, again, it's all in service of the entertainment, you know. The production facilitates the entertainment, but it doesn't restrict it, you know. It's not like they're going to stop somebody from saying something funny because, oh, you know, we can't have that go out on live television. And with all that being said, it's not like these look unprofessional, because they don't. They have so many camera angles. They have instant replay. They have, you know, cameras for the crowd, cameras for each angle of a play. They have a roaming cam. They have professional audio, and they have mic'd up players, you know, like everything you would come to expect from a modern sports broadcast they have, but they aren't trying to be ESPN, you know. They're doing a great job walking this line where they want to be professional, but they also want to be having fun. Which brings me to my last point, which is the balance between competitiveness and fun. So many of the crew and the players have talked about this riding the line between being too competitive and not competitive enough. And the games wouldn't be fun if they were all for laughs, like the NBA All-Star Game, but they wouldn't be as fun if they were as serious as the Super Bowl or the World Series or something, you know? And these aren't professional athletes for the most part. There are some that show up, like I mentioned, the Major League Cricket players, and then there are some professional baseball players that are in blitzball, but for the most part, they aren't professionals, so they don't have the skill set to be as serious and professional and let the technique and the skill and the strategy do all the work of being entertaining. You know, they do need to have their personality in it, which is why it's a content league, you know. And for me, nothing encapsulates this more than seeing Trevor Plouffe, who is an MLB player for almost 10 years and has over 100 career home runs in the big leagues, because they talk about it all the time, celebrate with his teammate Shelfie when he hits a game-winning home run. You know, Trevor has experienced much bigger stages and much higher stakes than this, but he looks like a little kid celebrating like a little league win. And I think that is it's such the perfect microcosm of what makes this content league so incredible, you know. He's taking it seriously, yes, because he wouldn't react so boisterously if he didn't, but he's not too serious to think like, oh, it's just on to the next one, you know. It's living in the moment. It's taking so much joy out of a simple game, and it's so infectious to watch. Like, watching them do that is so much fun, and it's very humanizing, I would say. I don't know if I've ever connected with a professional athlete as much as I have with Trevor playing in these games, you know. So all in all, the Jomboy Media Warehouse Games are some of my favorite content I've ever watched on the internet. They have an incredible formula, and I only hope it continues to grow in popularity and scale, all while keeping that secret sauce that has made it such a joy to watch and engage with. If you've ever been in the live chat for one of their games premiering, or if you've seen the vlogs or the videos of them doing their live league where they played blitzball at a bar, you'll know that the community is there with them, and I hope that that never goes away. You know, I obviously want them to grow and I want them to be as successful as possible, but I want them to keep this formula, this, like I said, the secret sauce here that is making this such an incredible amount of content to watch. And I will be there along for the ride as long as they do it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And I will see you next time.